Okay, picture this. You're in the tiny, remote village of Barapur. The air is thick, it's pitch black outside, and this intense, unexplainable fear has completely taken over the locals. Welcome to today's Explainer. I am so excited to have you here because the mystery we're unpacking today, it's an absolute roller coaster. It beautifully blurs that line between a human scam and, well, the truly unexplainable. We're looking at a case that starts off as a terrifying local legend, turns into this brilliant, logical detective story, and then ends somewhere you will absolutely not see coming. So get comfortable, because we're about to take a fascinating dive into fear, logic, and the unknown.
Now, put yourself in this scenario for a second. It's midnight. You're hiding in the bushes, the fog is super thick, and you are actively tracking what everyone in your village swears is a blood-curdling ghost. Suddenly, the figure stops dead in its tracks, and this forced, super unnatural voice just cuts right through the freezing air, saying, "Whoever is watching me, go back or you won't see the sun tomorrow." Man, that chilling warning, that is the exact turning point of our story today. It's the very moment the stakes shoot up from a simple campfire ghost story to a high-risk, real-life midnight hunt.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, The Secret of the Three Pots, a 25-year-old myth.
Okay, let's dive into this. For 25 years, the locals in Barapur have been whispering about this silent, faceless woman who balances three pots on her head near the old well. And recently, this myth has resurfaced, but this time, it's accompanied by a string of village robberies. Now, the older villagers, they swear up and down it's a supernatural witch. But then we have Raghav. He's a local who works in the city, and he comes in with a highly logical counter-theory. Look, Raghav's thinking is simple. Ghosts don't steal gold. He is convinced that someone is just weaponizing the village's deep-seated superstitions to cover up real, human crimes.
But Raghav knows that just arguing with the villagers isn't going to prove anything. He needs hard evidence. So he decides to organize this incredibly structured, Scooby-Doo-style three-night investigation to dissect the whole haunting logically. Night 1 is all about observation. Night 2 is for trailing the suspect. And Night 3, that is going to be the midnight ambush. Moving right along to Section 2, the midnight investigation, trailing the shadow.
So, on the very first night of the stakeout, things get crazy. A black silhouette, actually balancing three clay pots, emerges right out of the fog, mutters something into the old well, and vanishes. Raghav is totally fighting his nerves here, but he creeps up to the well to inspect the pots she left behind. The first pot, it's filled entirely with mud. The second one, just dry leaves. But inside the third pot, well, the whole supernatural theory just completely shatters, because it is filled with stolen silver coins and gold jewelry. And right then and there, Raghav knows, ghosts have absolutely zero use for local currency. There is undeniably a human element at play here. Now, Raghav is in full-on detective mode. On the second night, he's trailing the figure, and he breadcrumbs three massive physical clues. First, those three pots on the head, they remain perfectly, unnaturally still as the figure moves, almost like they're literally glued together. Second, the way the figure walks, it's a heavy, grounded, unmistakably masculine stride. And third, those chilling vocal threats we talked about earlier, they sound completely forced. Like someone who is desperately trying to disguise their natural speaking voice.
Which brings us to Section 3, Unmasking the Cellar, the hidden safe house.
So, Raghav keeps tailing this shadow, right? He follows it past this old mango orchard all the way to a ruined mansion, where he uncovers a heavy iron trapdoor that leads straight down into an underground safe house. Armed with this massive discovery, Night 3 becomes the ambush. Raghav gathers up a heavily armed group from the village, and the second the supposed witch approaches, they spring the trap. They tackle the figure to the ground, shatter the pots, rip off the veil, and guess who it is? It's Bhagat Ram, the village goldsmith, the very same guy who supposedly moved away to the city 6 months ago. No way, right? He had been hiding underground this entire time, literally pulling the strings of the village's fear.
Now we transition to Section 4, the dark truth of the past, a tragically old myth.
At this point, the mystery feels totally solved. Wrap it up right? Well, not quite. A village elder steps forward and asks a really chilling, logical question. He looks at the goldsmith and says, "If you've only been doing this for 6 months, then who on earth was the woman we all saw 25 years ago?" Bhagat Ram, who is absolutely terrified now, explains that the original figure, it wasn't a witch at all. It was his mother. She was just this hardworking woman selling water late at night to survive. And tragically, a superstitious mob, driven entirely by pure paranoia, mistook her for a dark creature and killed her. It just highlights this really terrifying reality. Sometimes the scariest monsters aren't ghosts at all. They're just human misunderstandings.
And here, we get the anatomy of a real villain's origin story. Bhagat Ram grew up carrying the horrific truth of his mother's murder, so he intentionally revived that three-pot myth as a twisted act of psychological revenge. He wanted the village to feel the exact same terror they used against his own mother. But, over those 6 months hiding in the dark, human nature kind of just took over. His desire for revenge slowly warped into base greed, and he started exploiting all that fear to actually rob his tormentors. It's a sad but psychologically sound conclusion to our mystery.
And finally, Section 5, the final and true shadow, an impossible event.
Up until this exact second, logic has completely won the day. The fake ghost is caught, the stolen goods are all accounted for, right? But just as they are about to drag Bhagat Ram off to the police, this icy, freezing wind blows straight up from the pitch-black cellar. The temperature just absolutely plummets, and out of the darkness, this clear, distinctly female voice echoes out, saying, "Bhagat Ram, it is time to go." As Bhagat Ram starts screaming in sheer horror, a real, translucent silhouette actually materializes in the fog. A woman, with 3 pots resting perfectly on her head.
When the wind finally dies down, the figure is just gone. Bhagat Ram gets arrested, and all the stolen goods are rightfully returned to the villagers. But listen, the story doesn't cleanly end there, because to this day, the people of Barapur absolutely refuse to go anywhere near that old well at night. On new moon nights, when the thick fog rolls back in, a harmless, quiet shadow is still seen just waiting by the stones. She doesn't steal anything, she doesn't hurt anyone, she just stands there.
So, what does this all mean? It leaves us with one final, haunting question. Was it really his mother's spirit? Did Raghav's perfectly logical investigation actually disturb some supernatural force that had been quietly sleeping for 25 years? I mean, we stripped away the hoax, we found the stolen gold, sure, but that final voice, that completely defies explanation. It really goes to show that in our rush to apply pure logic to the shadows, we might just stumble upon something that doesn't follow our rules at all. Keep asking questions, keep looking for the logic out there, but hey, maybe keep a flashlight handy the next time you walk past an old well at midnight.